Namaste. Welcome to Satsang. So I want to start by answering some questions that have been sent in. If you can't attend the Satsang live and therefore ask a question that you want to, or if you'd rather ask something anonymously, then there is a form on our website, helenhamilton.org. You go to the Satsang page and you can submit a question there and it'll be read out anonymously and answered in Satsang. Sometimes we don't get many coming in, and sometimes we get a lot. So in one period. So I'm going to dive into some we've had sent in this week, and then I'll see how many I can get through, and then we'll open it up here for questions live tonight here in the session. So this first one says, Dear Helen, I wanted to ask a question about free will and karma. How much of my life circumstances is my doing? Is my mind merely commenting on what's already happened by itself? In other words, if my life is a mess, who's to blame? Can I blame my bad childhood, or is it karma? And do I have free will to change my circumstances? Many thanks, and thank you so much for your teaching with loving kindness. So this is a question that comes up quite often. If your life is a mess, who's to blame? Well, my life was certainly in a huge mess as I came into this and began to deepen my seeing. So can I blame my bad childhood, or is it karma? What if they're both the same thing? What if you're here in this physical body because of the karmic patterns you have brought into this lifetime already that were unresolved when you left your previous body? Perhaps we still had desires to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel respected, to feel empowered. Whatever desires we had that remained unfulfilled will eventually draw us back to another human lifetime to try to transcend those. So if we come into this lifetime with beliefs already in place that have just been carried through, like I'm not safe, or I can't get what I want, or I don't deserve to be happy, or whatever the version is that we've got going on, usually a combination of those, then this plays out as our experiences, reflects as our experiences. So a child in a family relational environment might experience the mirror image of this belief, I'm not good enough, as these experiences, but it's really the one being, right? The parents have the same idea too deep in their consciousness, and it plays out as reflects as their behavior. So our experiences are showing us what unfulfilled desires we have. And we come into this incarnation, into this body, and we try to feel safe by trying to get it from the outside in. If I have enough people around me and the right amount of money and the right job and all of that, then I'll feel safe. But actually, the full transcendence of that is our free will, that we can actually come to realize we're already safe. We're never actually unsafe, even though we might have really experienced that in our previous experiences. This experience we've had has been a reflection of this sense, this unfulfilled desire, this need to feel safe or loved or wanted, whatever it is that we feel we're trying to get from our relationships. They're really one and the same thing. So if your life is a mess, who's to blame? Nobody, actually. the way there are the truth that we really are, the one being, the one consciousness, the supreme self, whatever we want to call it, has to recognize itself as it's doing here in Satsang. But then it has to allow that truth to flow as our life, as and through our mind and body. And to do that, we have to transcend these karmic patterns or unfulfilled desires, and to transcend them in a permanent way as well, not just feeling safe because of some external environment, which could quite easily change, but feeling safe because we realize who we actually are, and that does not die. It's not dependent upon a body. It's using a body, the truth, the consciousness, but it doesn't need it, and its existence is never going to end, unlike the bodies. So if our life is a mess, it's only really showing us that we perhaps might have realized the truth quite deeply, but there are some areas where we're not allowing it to flow yet. And you can tell which those areas are, right? Usually where we've got some real suffering going on, some negative emotion, or an abundance of what we don't want is showing up for us. So usually a lot of thoughts in separation still. If you look at the biggest problem you have right now, just spend a moment thinking about what that is. And then count how many beings or things are involved in that. And if it's more than one being involved in that problem, it's not true, because there is only one being, one substance. It's showing up as all of these sentient and insentient forms. So where's our free will in this then? How can we transcend this? Well, our only free will really is where our attention is. Most human beings, when we're experiencing something that we don't want in our life, all of our attention goes to that experience and trying to change the experience. Because there's this myth that we've bought into that if I get my outside world to look the way I want it to look, then I'll feel better, peaceful, etc. And then the other myth we buy into on the pathway is if I get my inside world to look the way I want it to look, then I'll definitely be free, peaceful, and all of that. What if those are literally impossible? What if the only choice we have in any moment is where our attention is? What if it's simply about bringing attention back to what is real over and over and over again? That's the only choice we have in any moment at all, ever. Which makes it really simple, right? Because I'm either focused on the illusion, what I don't want, or I'm focused on the truth. And it's not an ignoring of our experience, of our challenges to bring attention back to truth. It's literally the only place where those challenges can resolve. You cannot fix a problem that exists in the illusion from the illusion. You can only come to see that it's not really true, that you are the one being. If there's no separate self when we really look anyway, no person, no entity sitting in the body, just a energy that's life force that's first arising out of the infinite silence, then do you really even have a capacity to do anything to change it anyway? Not so much. So your only free will is where your attention is. And as we choose to bring attention back to what is real through meditation, contemplation, self-inquiry, quite naturally that begins to dissolve the blocks that are stopping our life from flowing, the beliefs that are in the way. So you can change your circumstances, but not directly, not by trying to change your circumstances. And not by trying to change in here as well, but just to see what's already so about you. You are already free. You are so free that you're even playing with this idea of being caught and imagining that you have to work your way out of it. What if that was not true? What if all of that was part of the illusion? How much sense would it make to pay attention to that then? Given also that you are the infinite power, if you put your attention on anything, it gets really big really quick. And a tiny problem just becomes massive, or a small negative emotion becomes really huge when you put your attention on it. The only control we have is where our attention is. So simply the intention to bring attention back to what is real as often as possible, otherwise called devotion to truth. It's the only free will any of us have, and it is also all we need. It's too simple for the mind, but it works. So next one says, short and sweet, what are the benefits of going on a pilgrimage with no destination? What are the benefits of going on a pilgrimage with no destination? Well, I'm going to assume here that you're talking about the awakening journey itself, not an actual physical pilgrimage. But I guess this would, what I want to say would apply to either of those. Well, if there's no destination, and in terms of awakening, there's no final aha moment where you're suddenly free and you weren't a moment before. The benefits of the pilgrimage then would be to get to know the one on the pilgrimage, right? The one who's decided to take that journey, and maybe to stop seeking a destination. That certainly was the key for me, to realize there is a moment where I begin to really see I've always been free. But that paradoxically starts another journey that goes on forever, a deepening of allowing this to express itself, what I've seen myself to be, to express itself through the mind and body and as my life. So no destination means there's literally nowhere to get to. There's nothing to achieve, no final conclusion, no big firework moment where I'm suddenly awake, enlightened, and I wasn't before. It's only every day I'm coming to see clearer and clearer and clearer who I've always been, who you already are, that is already free. And mind is on the pilgrimage, right? Mind's journey starts out with something like this. I really want to wake up to the self. I really want to be free. I'm not free. And then after a little while, let's skip forward 100 million thoughts to, I am already the infinite self, says mind. And then a few more 100 million thoughts to everything is the infinite self. And then finally, maybe a thought arises after another 100 million thoughts that says something like, I was never on a journey. I've always been free. And this is the self speaking through the mind, finally. Mind has been on a journey. Awareness is aware and never changes. Consciousness is conscious of the pilgrimage and every step the mind seems to take. It's the mind that wakes up, right? It's gone through a series of thoughts that are ever more enlightened. So maybe the purpose of the journey, the pilgrimage, is to see that you're not on one. Hopefully that answers it. I like them concise, but sometimes a little more than that would be helpful. Next one. Thank you very much for all your work. Dear Helen, is it possible that you could please tell us about the days before and after your awakening, about your definitive aha, your definitive beginning to live as the being? We are many of us who will thank you. It can be inspirational. Namaste. I can't really tell you about that because it wasn't like that for me. I'll tell you how it was. I spent 15 to 20 years waiting for an aha moment like this. I watched 100,000 hours of Muji Satsang and Adyashanti and read 100 million books. And I was waiting for the big moment, where it all went, when there was fireworks and laughing and crying and all of that. And there were some moments like that for sure, but Went right back to the illusion afterwards. In fact, something clung on even tighter to the illusion after those moments. And after about 24 years of seeking, consciously seeking, because I must have been seeking my whole life. And this is a very shortened version because we have discussed it actually on the YouTube channel also. There is a playlist of interviews that I've done with different people, and it explained a lot more in there as well. It might be good to watch those. One day, I just got home from somewhere, I can't remember where I was, and I read an email. Someone had sent me an email who, let's just say there was no love lost between us. And this person liked to send me some very critical comments and what they thought of the way I was running my life. And every time I received one of these emails, I would read it and there'd be this huge, painful response, shame and self-hatred and guilt and all kinds of things. And this email came in and I read it, and there was just nothing inside. Nothing happened. And I actually just felt love for this person, like, wow, they must really hate themselves if they're projecting onto me, if this is what they really think about themselves, because I am themselves. And there was nothing inside that happened at all. No trigger, nothing, no emotion, no contraction, just peace. And the time before that, there was this shame and this burning rage and this desperate attempt to get this person to understand me, and on and on it went. This time, why it was any different, I don't know. My practices have been fairly consistent before. And when I look back and try to find a moment where I stopped suffering, I don't know when that was. It was only clear to me in hindsight that I somehow couldn't do that thing anymore, right? I couldn't somehow contract around that and have that response. When that happened, I don't know. And so there were many epiphanies and aha moments, but they weren't the main deal for me. I'm saying this because it's quite surprising that to hear someone say that you might not know when it's happened. You might not know. Most of us are so busy trying to make sure it's happening that we never stop to actually look. So in a very quiet moment, and I don't even know when that was, somehow at some point I brought my attention back to the real self over and over again, listening to the silence, being aware of awareness, contemplating, self-inquiring. Somehow I just lost that capacity to suffer. But the realization just became obvious that I was free and had always been. And it wasn't, I was literally sat on my own. After this moment where nothing happened, I was sat in my house here on the sofa right over there on my own, cup of tea. There was no bliss, no tears, no fireworks, no angels came down and shook my hand or anything that I've been, expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was just a very quiet and ordinary thought. It was just, you've always been free. And it was obvious. Just obvious. And it wasn't 2 minutes before. But would I have had that thought if that person hadn't sent that email? Who knows? At some point, maybe. So I really am on a bit of a mission to destroy this idea that there is this pivotal one moment where you wake up. Because it's not so. It's just the deepening of realizing I've always been free. I've always been free. And after that, other things happened, and things that again would have caused a real contraction inside and gone back into illusion for who knows how long. Again, there was just nothing capable inside of contracting around it. There was just this response of peace and love. And gradually over time, that deepened into a lot of peace, a lot of contentment, joy, love, bliss, and even deeper. But if you ask me when that happened, I couldn't tell you, because the one that would be taking score has disappeared, you know, the one that's measuring everything against, you know, every experience that we have. There's a little commentator inside going, I dealt with that worse than last time, or better than last time. I'm doing really good, or I'm doing really terrible. But if you're focused on the silence anyway, or the awareness or the real, will you notice when the unreal has dissolved? We all like to think we would know. But is that so? Maybe you'll only find out afterwards when someone says or does something that usually would push a button and nothing happens. So just throwing it out there in case it helps. And I had so quietly and gradually slipped into living as the being that I hadn't noticed. And someone said to me, you know, you're feeling a lot of peace these days. And it's very nice to be around you. And I'm like, really? You know? And they said, when was the last time you suffered? And I was like, I don't actually know. And that is not at all how I thought it would be. So hope that helps to destroy some huge spiritual myth that we have, that it'll be this big one-time event. I've seen people have a massive seeing, a massive epiphany. I've sat with people who have seen there's no separate self, I am infinite. They've literally said these things. And then literally 2 minutes later, they're back into separation thinking. So even if you have this big moment, it's still going to have to, you're still going to have to do the work of dissolving the thoughts that are in the way of expressing itself. And the most important thing I want to say is that it might already be happening, even though you might not be noticing how awake you already are. Are you dealing with challenges in your life differently? Are you blaming yourself less? Are you coming back to peace quicker? Are you letting go of judgments easier? These are the things that I'm interested in. Are you laughing more? Are you able to just sit down and relax a bit more? Are you having more fun? Those are the things that is very, very important signs for me. I'm not really interested in big epiphanies. I mean, they're fun, but they come and go just like everything else. I've seen people have the most explosive scenes and then I never see them again because what they saw was just so different to how they're living and they're not yet ready to let go of how they're thinking. That's where the real work is. Okay, I will read 2 more and then I'll open it up here for questions. Dear Helen, thank you for all your dedication. So I see your hand up. We'll take up to 4 questions here tonight. Thank you. Dear Helen, thank you for all your dedication, which is immensely useful. My character has a job and a talent for the job. I am an artist. However, things are going badly for me in my work. On the social networks where I publish and try to make my work appear, things are also going badly, and also in the monetary aspect. I am an older person. If I do inquiry, how exactly would you recommend I do it? Or what can you suggest to get out of this loop of many, many years? Everything is welcome. Thank you. Big hug. So I hear from many artists who say that it just isn't working. And especially if you're trying to do it for your job, it's a lot of pressure, right? And anything creative we're doing at all, it's going to get stifled if we're doing it for any other reason than for the fun, for the joy of it. So as a separate, imaginary separate self, we can do it because it's my job and it won't be a problem. We'll still be able to express not our full creativity, but some. But then as we wake up to who we really are, it's going to just stop flowing completely because life is going to ask us to look at the reasons why we're doing it. If I am the infinite self and I'm an artist and I am expressing that love, that truth through art, then the only reason that the infinite self is doing anything, even this reason really isn't true, but for the fun of it, for the joy of it, or because it's just what wants to happen. And if we are doing it because we need to earn money from it, or because we have to, or because we think if we're able to sell art, then we will feel worthy, it's not going to work, and it's going to grind to a halt until we root out these deep reasons. Even the teaching for me, writing books and teaching, it started and then it completely stopped. And I had to really look at why I was doing this. And now I don't know why I'm doing this. I really have no reason for doing this other than it's what seems to want to happen here. So why, the inquiry, I would ask, why are you doing this? And probably the first reason is, well, it's my job, or I need to make some money out of it. But can you really honestly say that if you are the infinite self? Do you need anything? Your body needs sustenance, of course, and a place to live. But does the infinite self have a job? Is it even an artist? These are very subtle identities that we hold on to, which will just limit the flow. Creativity is going to flow best out of this real openness of not knowing anything. These are things we really know, right? I really need this income to really support myself. For me, it was I really need validation from this. You know, if I'm a good teacher, if everyone likes me, then I'll feel validated, and on it went. All of that had to go. And the only reason left was because it's fun. I like it. Or even that is very, really the only reason the self does anything is because it's just happening. It's just happening. And if you think back to whenever you've really enjoyed your art, there was no reason for doing it at all other than it felt so joyful. So joyful that you lost track of time. You might forget to eat because you're just like totally one with the art. There's nobody doing the art. There's just art happening. And that's where you want to get back to. You can do that simply by asking yourself gently, why am I doing this? And just not judging, maybe just writing down these reasons come up because I want to be liked, because I want to be respected, because I want to make money, pay the bills. Of course, all of that is fine. But just keep asking until you dig into this place inside that really just wants to do it for no reason. Or it can't be stopped, right? It's just going to pour forth from there. So hope that helps. I'll just read this last one here. Dear Helen, I have a long-standing polarizing dynamic with my sister, which continues to cause suffering, I think, for both of us. I feel that at the heart of this, on my side, are complex feelings related to being left by her. She is older than me, and my mother when I was a teenager. I was left with a difficult father. I've never been able to fully express my anger about this in a way that it has been able to be received and without judgment. I suspect it creeps into all my interactions, particularly with my sister. My mother passed away 6 years ago, and I was not able to be close to her, I think, because of the unresolved anger. I feel it is a block to my life force, and would be grateful for your guidance on how to really heal this, both for myself and my sister, and my daughter, who is caught in the middle somehow. Do I need to go direct to the anger? If so, how do I access these repressed emotions that I numb myself out to? Thank you, with love. So, the most direct way would be to ask if you can be blocked by anything at all. Can anything block your life force? Really, if you are the infinite self, the source of the cosmos, you're effortlessly sustaining all this cosmos. Even now, this body, you are this body that's talking, and everybody that's listening, and everything. Everything. You are infinite. And can anything block you? Because anger comes from, the root of anger is not because of our external circumstances. It's not what other people did to us. Although it seems like that, and we keep having that repeating experience. But if we ask anger in its root, not about this thing in the world, just anger, emotion itself, what do you want to say to me? And if you can really get in touch with that anger, it doesn't have to be really strong right now, but just to feel what it wants to tell you. For me, when I asked it, it just told me that it was limited, blocked, life was unfair, can't get what I want, something is in my way or someone. A real sense of being limited. And I tried so hard for so long to resolve the anger that I had. I had a lot of anger. I pushed so many people away. Mostly because I couldn't receive unconditional love. It felt too scary. Finally, realized the root of that anger was because I felt limited. So even after I'd seen, I am not really, I am the silence, I am the consciousness, I am the presence. My very next thought would be in limitation, what I can't seem to do. I can't get enough money to pay the bills, can't get people to like me, can't seem to stay in the peace, can't seem to get rid of this emotion. And it was like 100,000 ways this belief I can't get what I want was playing for me over and over. It was running my entire life. Can't seem to get out of illusion. All of it. So most direct is to find out if you can be limited at all or blocked by anything. And we have no evidence that that is true, except for the experiences which are the reflection of this belief. You cannot use any experience you've ever had, ever, or will have, as evidence that this belief is true. Why? Because you are inside and outside. You are the other people. You are your sister. This belief, one belief is playing out, I can't get what I want between two bodies or three bodies. You've mentioned your daughter here as well, so it must be all of that. And the one speaking and everyone listening, you are. If we keep taking our experience as evidence that this is true, we go around and around and around. Anger is a real symptom of feeling blocked and limited and finite. But can you be blocked by anything? Are you finite and limited? Yes, we've had many, many countless experiences of that, but what if it's never been true, actually? We could all cite 100,000 experiences of not getting what we want. And that feels very true as a separate sense of someone, as a person, an imaginary person. But is it true for you, who you really are? So for me, it was a shifter of it. Instead of trying to deal with the emotion or resolve the relationship, which all of my relationships were messed up completely. It was a shift to really intensely questioning, can anything limit me at all? Is there anything other than me to limit me, to block me? Because if there is, then I'm finite. I'm no longer infinite. There's me and something else. Anything or anyone that would seem to limit or block you from doing anything that you want, whether it's releasing anger, waking up to the truth, having a good relationship with your sister, anything that could block you from any of those, you already are that. It all starts to fall down then, right? This whole pattern. So hope that helps. Okay, so we'll go to Nikki when you're ready.
Good evening, Helen.
Hiya, how
I
are you
hope you're
doing?
well. I'm not too bad. I've
Good.
heard a lot of the question what I was going to ask. I've heard parts of the solution within the Satsang tonight. So I'm
Ask again though
thousands
if
away.
you want to. It's totally okay.
Yeah. So I'm thousands of miles away from my family who are back in the UK. His body's in Thailand. Uh, and I understand about, well, I've got a small understanding of separate self. There is no duality. And there's a part, and it shows up within me. So it feels like there's some selfishness because I'm not really in touch with them, and I'd like to be in touch a bit more.
Hmm.
So there's a part of it or phenomenon which feels like selfishness, because I still feel I'm holding on to a belief and the shame there, and that I'm not enough. So like, what would you suggest? Like the contemplation and self inquiry.
Yeah. If we look at the shame itself, mind will say I'm ashamed because I don't contact them enough or I don't do what I'm supposed to do, right? But what if that experience is a reflection of the shame itself? What would shame, just on its own, say? What does it feel? What's the belief behind shame? Do you get a sense of what story shame has?
That I'm not enough.
Yeah. And can you ever then, with that belief in place, can you ever experience what you want to experience? Or do you have to keep experiencing that you're not enough? The experiences that come with this belief have to be opposite to what you want, right? They have to be. So I would stay with this question. Is that actually true that you're not enough? Because if we keep looking at our experience, like I was saying before, to validate that belief, to find out whether it's true, we will go around and around. We either experience this belief or we experience the questioning of it. And if we're questioning it, we'll be experiencing freedom. Just ask it inside yourself now, even, is that really true that I'm not good enough? That I'm not enough? And see what happens.
Yeah, it like brought a smile to my face and a sense of humor. I know I'm enough. I'm boundless. So there's a big part of me that knows that too. Uh, and
But this,
through
go ahead, sorry.
sorry, through things, and uh, it's helped me to be a lot more freer than I've ever been. And I'm experiencing that joy and being able to let go of stuff a lot quicker.
Mhm.
But this still like shows up every now and again, every now and again.
Maybe it's just showing you one area of your life where you still are living from this belief. You might have seen it's not true. But for me, then there'd be certain areas of my life where, oh, it's still playing there, you know. So just to look at it and go, if I want to communicate better with my family, can I actually ever achieve that if I'm still believing this idea here with my family? It's just asking you to apply it to this area of your life, right? What you've seen to be true.
Yeah, what's not true.
Yeah. That who you are already is enough, is could never be in question in that way, right? And just to see this idea is just playing here in this part of my life still. Most of us have perhaps two or three areas of our life, usually some kind of relationship where um, it just hangs on for a little while, this unworthiness, this shame, just to look at it and go, do I actually have any evidence that I haven't been what my family need me to be? Really, actually.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Good to talk to you.
You too.
Thanks. We'll go to Don.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Um, I'm excited about all your fall retreats. I hope I can come to one. Um, and really grateful for the work today. Um, I was trying to process through. I was reading some material about some spiritual leaders, and I don't know if you'd even call them spiritual leaders, but how polarized they are in the political spectrum, and specifically Martin Luther King Jr. and Billy Graham. And then I was looking at how do they play into the cosmic Christ, or the Christ as the Buddha and Jesus, and it seems like it's very far from what I would consider what Jesus the Christ was saying, and I don't know how accurate the Gospels that I've gotten are. And I'm trying to understand that in the way of the polarity of the political systems. I remember Richard Rohr, one of my Catholic priests that I listened to some, said that, I believe it was him, saying that we're all closer to Hitler than we are the Christ. And when I look at the polarity of like some of the political systems, it feels like we are very much further away from war machine than we are from unconditional love and being loving beings. And just as someone that writes political columns sometimes, and then someone who's really interested in life on the planet, I wondered if you could sort of give me a little bit of insight about what truth is, and the polarity in politics, and the polarity between the beingness and what our misconception of what we are.
That's the truth has no opposite. Truth has no, there really is no illusion. Illusion doesn't exist, right? It seems to. But the nature of the illusion isn't actually there. So there is no duality of truth and falsehood. There seems to be a huge experience of falsehood going on, or illusion, or polarity, as you called it. But if you have like this light, there's a light switch here on the wall behind me. It's a dimmer switch. And when you turn it all the way up, it's really bright. When you turn it all the way down, it's dark. Well, not yet, but it would be. But there's no darkness switch, is there? There's no darkness switch. There's no switch you can switch on that says darkness. There's only varying degrees of that light and how it's being allowed in that moment. Illusion is the same. When the truth is not being allowed to express itself very much at all, it looks like duality. It looks like illusion. It looks like separation. It looks like everything we see going on in the world that we would like to move away from. It looks like corruption and everything else. But it's really only that the truth is not being allowed to express itself through those, through the thought structure of those beings who are very much still in love with the idea of being a someone. And it hasn't occurred to them yet that there might be something else to experience. So I don't know if that addresses it, but it's a very big question. So if you want to narrow it down a little.
I'll narrow it. I don't know if I'm narrowing it or confusing it, but in the sense, like, I read a lot of Christian doctrine, and some Judaism, some Islam, and then Buddhism and Hindu, but I know Christianity probably better because that's what I was raised in. And the more I read of the non-duality and the unconditional love, and what I think is more undistilled Christ, I'm like, wow, what is being taught as Christianity is so far afield from anything that I think was intended. And so then you got a ton of duality, and the purity, as you and I've, that we've talked about in retreat and on this class, has been, immaculate and just so inscrutably beautiful. But what I've been taught and what I see coming out of certain institutions in Rome and Church of England, evangelical America, just seems so far afield from, and it's taken as quote unquote the gospel.
It's really, when you ask an ego to interpret the words of an awakened being like Christ, little errors creep in there, don't they? Even with the best of intentions, little errors creep in, which then get magnified over time. And a couple of thousand years later, it looks very little like what the original awakened beings said or how they lived. And that's true for any organized system. And it could happen in any, even if you take the CEO of a big company with a vision to set out this company and they're going to move forward this way, as that vision is interpreted by people over and over again and translated and all of that, errors creep into that. And over time, it just becomes so twisted and distorted from the original message. Some of the original message is still in there, of course, but and then things further get diluted by lots of cultural teachings of the culture of that particular awakened being at the time. So it's more about doing things a certain way than remembering the actual message. And it's important to realize that Christ was never a Christian. Buddha was never a Buddhist. All of this came after. Of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Christianity and Buddhism. But the original message of the founder of, not even the founder of those religions, because they never founded any religion. This all came after, way after. So it's natural to want to preserve those teachings, but perhaps the people who started to try to preserve it were not fully awakened in themselves. And you see that just compounds then over time to something that is, even if the original scripture is intact, sometimes the people trying to interpret that scripture are not as living as that freedom and trying to teach it to others. So
yeah, definitely. And that's a great answer. Thank you for the insight on that, and I really appreciate that. That's what I needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks, Don. We'll go to Lean.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, now I can. Yep. Quite quiet. Yeah. There we go.
Hi. Thank you so much for your teachings.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what my question exactly is, but I think it will become clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, like earlier in the evening, you said you talked about your process of awakening, or it's not a process, but that you had this moment of that this email was sent and there was just no response. And sometimes I also experience this kind of thing, like that there's just something that in the past would have hurt me, and that I just continue to feel peacefulness. Sometimes it's also not like that. Sometimes, yeah, there are moments that just I do feel hurt by something.
Yeah.
Even though I can see then that it's not really real, but I just still feel it, and it's a moment that it seems like that. Generally, I feel a lot of peacefulness. And it's not really like, because you or other people also often speak about joy. It's not really like something very joyful. It's just a lot of calm and just a lot of trust.
It will deepen into joy over time.
Yeah, okay.
If there's any fear left still or shame, it's going to transmute itself into joy. Fear and shame or anger or whatever, they're quite low frequencies. So we might feel a lot of peace at first, or just contentment and silence and peace. But gradually that will deepen into joy, more fun, and a rich sense of love eventually, and then even bliss and ecstasy sometimes. But at first while we're kind of clearing up the karmic patterns, the frequency might be still a little low in the body mind to feel love and joy. They're just higher frequencies, aren't they, really? Well, the way the body feels them as higher frequencies.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Yes, sometimes do like experience fear or shame, or I also having fun, but it's not like this deep joy or that I'm not experiencing.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah. Just over time, as we let go of our old ideas, the body's just enlightened of them, right? These lower frequencies. And because they're on their own path also to awakening these frequencies, these shame and fear. They just want to be felt. And then in being felt, they can shift back into peace. And you could say that really love and joy, when we start to have an abundance of life force energy, right now we're probably running on empty a little bit, just enough to keep going, because the thoughts that we're believing are really sort of blocking the flow down through the chakra system. So as you start to gain more life force back, because it's not being invested in these ideas, firstly there's a lot of quietness and peace, and then that peace becomes quite profound, and then a deep contentment turns into joy, and they're really just words that we assign to more and more life force energy, so.
Yeah, and what I also notice is that something I'm wondering about sometimes, I don't know if it makes sense to wonder about this, but
Yeah.
it often is it's very clear, in fact, what I am not. Like I really used to believe I was this person, and I've checked it so many times, and it's really very clear that this is not who I am. This has become very clear. Sometimes it even seems weird.
Now, how did I ever believe that for so long?
Yeah. And yeah, it's also I don't know. I'm not sure how to explain it. I feel this peacefulness and this it's just a beingness, and I don't know. I just wonder, do I have to know who I am? I mean, do I have to know this? I mean, it's maybe a strange question, but it's like very clear who I am not. But is the point to know who I am, like in words or something, or I'm I'm experiencing who, I don't know, who I am instead of who I am not? But I cannot say that I feel that it's just this spaciousness and awareness, and
Mm.
feels quite mysterious often, and just intimate and beautiful.
Yeah.
But do I have to know anything else about it?
No.
No? Okay.
Awareness isn't on a journey to find itself, is it? It's just here. It just is. And it doesn't know anything, right? What does silence know? Nothing. It's all. And it moves from knowing what we are here to actually being it. I'm quite content not knowing anything at all. I mean, that's not to say insights might come into my mind. I might have a insight that says, whoa, silence is effortlessly here, or whatever the epiphany is that we have. I've always been free, but in and of itself, who you really are, it's just got no urge to try to find anything out. It's just, if it's doing anything, it's just quietly listening to the universe. Oh, right? Just totally content already.
Yeah, that's what I'm
that
experiencing.
is the experience of it, right? That's what you want, not to know it here. You want the experience of it. Sorry, you were saying.
No, sorry. It is what I'm experiencing, but I'm thinking now, but maybe it's just because maybe it's just the belief that I'm still believing that I'm not doing it well enough, that I should do something more. Maybe it's this which is coming in between, saying, yeah, but I also should know. Maybe it's something like this that is coming in between that I'm wondering
The
about.
imaginary separate self that doesn't exist is running around trying to find out who it really is.
Yeah. So
And
absurd.
it says, am I doing it right? Yeah. And it is it's not actually capable. It's just a bunch of thoughts. So even when you're feeling profound peace and silence, it doesn't really know that. It's still asking, am I getting this? Is it working? You know, it's still doing the thing it does. But less and less are you kind of thinking that's you, more and more it's just, oh, there it goes again, you know. And eventually you'll just be like, I really can't be bothered to try to investigate anything. I'm just so happy and peaceful. And some inquiry might go on in the mind, some question might arise. It's fine, it can all happen. But in and of yourself, right, you're just here. You're free. That's it. Maybe some inquiry or contemplation might happen when, for a moment, we start to feel that we're not free or something. But it's just happening by itself, that inquiry, that questioning. Again, there's no separate self doing it. Yeah. After a while, I stopped expecting my mind to get the memo that I'd realized who I was. I just realized it can't tell. It's just a thought machine. And if I listen to it right now, it would still probably be saying that I'm not good enough and that I haven't, you know, I'm never going to wake up or whatever it was saying last time I heard it, which was a while ago. But it just becomes just part of the furniture in the room, right? It's really not a big deal. Everything's equally important, or nothing is really important. And the mind is just, it's the mind, right? And it's never going to understand that it's not actually an entity. It's going to keep on thinking it's a someone forever, most likely. But it just doesn't matter so much. You feel it, right? It's like, yeah, it's fine. It will run around in circles until it exhausts itself and then it will stop.
Yeah, it
But
also has to be very funny in that sense, the mind that, because I can so often see it that it really, yeah, really thinks it's someone and that it cannot know it, like, or these thoughts just, it's a funny thing.
yeah, it's the goldfish in the bowl trying to figure out what's in the next room, you know, and talking about what it thinks is going on next door, and it's got no idea. So, through no fault of its own. But you just realize it's not so important that I figure this out. But then paradoxically, lots of insightful thoughts start to come. Understandings, epiphanies come faster and faster because that's not the main deal anymore. You're just happy being yourself more and more.
Thank you so much. It's very nice.
Good to talk to you. Last but not least is Claire.
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
I don't know, my internet is a bit unstable, I think, so I hope you will.
We're all good for now.
Okay, good. I feel a bit like stupid raising my hand because I feel like I've gotten all the answers and I don't need to ask any questions.
Maybe we want to. Maybe it'd just be nice to talk to the one of us. I was going to say the two of us.
Yeah, it's I'm having health issues. I have a chronic health condition, autoimmune, and yeah, it's been playing up lately. And yeah, your answers to the last written questions, yeah, I feel like I have to meditate. I have to contemplate. I have to heal myself. I have to fight, like my job. I can't work right now and I don't have income. And it's like everything is closing in onto me. And I feel like I have to realize all my patterns, and so that I can be finally free. And it's so exhausting.
Yeah. That's a huge burden to put on yourself, isn't it? I mean, I do, we all do, don't we? We all take on this role of being the one who has to wake up. Yeah. What if all this is happening to help you see that you're already awake? That would be different.
I wish I could see it.
You want to look now together?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to push you into anything you don't feel comfortable with, but if you want to, we could look now together.
Yeah.
Let's have a look then. What actually are you? And there's no right or wrong answers here. Let's just see what happens when we go down this avenue together. What actually are you when you actually look, rather than thinking about yourself? There's a body, right? There's a body, but is that all you are? Is there anything else that is you? Take your time. There's no right or wrong answers here. Just exploring together. What really are you? And everyone can do this if you want to as well.
I don't know, as an answer, I just get more calm and like sensation of some space.
With first 3 words you said there, I don't know. How does that feel? Not actually knowing what you are. Because before we looked, you were sure you knew who you were. You were someone who had to wake up. But now, when we actually look, I don't actually know, right? Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Can you find a someone that has to wake up to the truth and heal its body and all of that stuff?
No, not right now. There is a relaxing in the body, kind of, because the fear of not knowing is a pit in my stomach, kind of, and now it's like kind of dissolving.
Yeah, when we actually not know, the body goes, oh, that's kind of nice. We can't find someone who needs to wake up. That's huge, isn't it? That's big. Let's check again. Let's look again. Just to see, am I actually a person? A someone? Am I a seeker?
You can hear the mind answering your questions.
Yeah, that's mind. It's okay. But the one hearing the mind, what is that? You're doing amazing here.
Just went blank. It's just
Empty.
gone again. Yeah.
Empty. Emptiness. Nothingness. And every time we look like this, we'll find this same nothingness. Every time I looked, there was never a person hanging around. I was sure that there was going to be, but I never managed to actually find it. And with that, seeing again and again, actually searching and trying to find it like we just did, not remembering last time, just really actually looking, you can feel something responding inside in your body. Your body's responding in any moment to whether you're believing you're someone or whether you're experiencing your emptiness. You can feel the difference, right? One's very tight and contracted and heavy, and we know that one. The other one is open and free and light, and the body's going, oh, I like this. Yeah. It's quite a kind thing to do for the body as well, just to actually look and see, can I actually find this one that needs to wake up and pay the bills and heal the body and all of that? And probably the mind says, well, yeah, it's not going to fix anything doing this. But actually it is. It really is. Because you can't solve the problems of this separate self when it doesn't exist, right? Maybe healing and abundance and all those things we want will come from recognizing this emptiness again and again and again and again. And somehow along the way, we forget how to think like a someone, forget how to pretend to be a seeker, a person. You're not the seeker, you are already what is sought. Already, right? Same emptiness that the Buddha talked about. You can feel your body going, yes, I like this, right? It's saying very big yes.
What also happens sometimes when I meditate or do whatever practice is my body relaxes, and then the fear comes of the sensations. It's like, oh, and the mind comments, and then, yeah, it stops. Like the expansion or relaxation stops because it feels dangerous or, yeah.
But dangerous for who? Let's just go back to experiencing who you really are again. Go back into that emptiness. What can hurt it?
Nothing really.
Anything overwhelm it?
No, even the stuckness in my body right now is just there.
Just there, yeah. Can it suffer? This nothingness, emptiness?
I don't think so, no.
So it's just to notice that when this fear comes up, that I just go back to believing myself to be a someone in that moment that can be overwhelmed with too much sensation or whatever. And life is just asking us to check out, can I be overwhelmed? Is this my issue, actually? Or is it the imaginary sense of self? And many little things came up for me like this. You know, to experience my own freedom, and then mind would say, yes, but. And I had to check it out. Yeah, but is this actually my problem now that I've seen who I am? And just to go back to what is real, experience what is real about you, and confirm. Fear says that you're in danger, right? That you're not safe by something, anything. But what can hurt you? Nothing at all. So you just kind of go, thank you, mind. That's really good advice, but it unfortunately doesn't apply to me. Or fortunately, it doesn't apply to me. I'm just going to carry on and keep experiencing my own emptiness. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well done, well done. Just keep doing that, right? Just keep checking in and seeing. Can't actually find this seeker, this one that's desperately got to get there or make things work or fix these problems or whatever it's saying, right? Yeah. It's got a long to-do list, the seeker, but we can't actually find it when we look. Most important. Thank you. Lovely.
It sounds ridiculous. Thank you.
No, I've been there. The story of the ego is 100,000 things I need to do before I'm free, you know? But after you investigate the first 100, you go, maybe none of these are anything to do with me, you know? And it's only untangling ourselves from the thoughts that are still in separation. That's all, right? Just because we have some seeing of who we really are, it doesn't necessarily change our thought structure immediately. which still thinks in terms of a separate being. Yeah. That's all that's going on here, just unraveling these little places we still identify. Now you're smiling. Wonderful. Good to talk to you. Thank you. Okay. So we will leave it there for today. And thank you to everyone who sent questions in, and for everyone that was so brave to share online here today. Thank you. Namaste.